Hello and welcome to another edition of Stager Insights. Today, I have an amazing guest with me, Kristyn Pereira from Oakville, Ontario. Welcome.
Hi, Christine. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today, Kristyn. So tell us first about you and how you got started in the world of staging.
Well, I guess you could say I was born into it. My mom actually started a staging company. I think we're 12 years this year. And we actually have always worked together as a family. We used to have a home decor and gift store probably about 20 years ago that my mom and my dad and myself were involved in. And this is just something that we've always done as a family. So it kind of was a natural progression and something that, my mom was always teaching me growing up, to be a little Martha Stewart was her goal. She started the business, my dad joined on, and I was studying fashion, which was what I wanted to do. And I joined, I think we're 4 years, about 4.5 years ago now. And it was just a kind of a natural transition. And I had an amazing teacher to learn from you and from my mom. And yeah, it's been, I guess, history since then.
So even though your mom had the business going before you started, so a good 6 or 7 years into the thing, you felt it was important to still take the CSP training.
Yes, for sure. So I worked with her for almost about a year, kind of really shadowing, going on all the consultations, helping her pack, doing all of the things and just learning the ins and outs. But I think, after a certain amount of time too, you get into some bad habits or you let things slide. And we both felt that it was important that I do the training and to empower myself as well too, to, really take the reins and have a leadership role in the company and to make sure that I had, all of the knowledge of how to run this business.
And that's resulted in you winning a lot of awards for the quality of the work you produce. So that's awesome. Good for you.
Thank you.
So I know that you have your own warehouse, like your company is Well Dressed Homes, and you have your own warehouse. So can you talk about how and where you purchase inventory?
Yeah, so we purchase most of our inventory from wholesale vendors. It's the most economical way for us to do it. We typically like to do 2 big purchases in the year. So usually in our slower times. So in the summer, we'll do a big purchase for the fall market. In the winter, we'll do a big purchase for the spring market. Just so that we can really keep things fresh. I think it's important to, not have the same thing all the time. And we like to turn over our inventory so that, we're producing something different and, staying on top of things.
Yeah, it gets your listings noticed, that's for sure. I know a lot of new stagers tend to think, the best approach to getting their inventory is to shop at the local store or, Costco or somewhere like that. So what is one of the benefits of actually working with wholesalers?
Well, we're buying it at, almost half of the cost of what the retail vendors are selling it for. And, a lot of times we go into these stores, I'm like, oh, I know where they got that from. I know where they got that from. And, there's a lot of places that are offering designer discounts, which is helpful too. But for those bigger purchases, it's really your money is going so much further. And then on top of that, we're renting it out. It's paying for itself. And then we can actually sell it afterwards and still make back what we purchased it for, so that when we want to rebuy something else, that we're covering that cost really easily.
Sure. And you mentioned earlier that, keeping your inventory fresh is really important to your company. So how do you turn over your inventory?
So we have an annual warehouse sale that is very popular. But, it's been really good now that people are expecting it and people are always asking us. So we usually do it. We just had it a couple weeks ago. So usually in the summer when things start to slow down a little bit, that, we look and see what have we not really used in the last year, what's kind of had its moment. And we put it out, and you know, even to other stagers, because there's nothing wrong with the inventory. It's just that it's been used and photographed so many times that it just needs to be turned over. So, you know, we sell to a lot of stagers, our clients, you know, people who follow us on social media, things like that. So we move a lot of inventory that way. And then there's also, you know, when we stage a house, it happens a couple times a year that, you know, people just want to buy everything that's in that house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, as long as we're getting that replacement cost back, then, you know, we're always happy to be able to let it go.
Have you suffered anything, you know, through the supply chain situation that's evolved as a result of COVID and all the other global situations that
Yeah.
impact?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think especially kind of at the height of COVID, when we were at our busiest, I think typically, you know, we have seasons of the spring market, the fall market, and I think we had about 2 solid years of just nonstop insanity. And so there wasn't really that time to prepare and plan for your upcoming busy season. It was just constant. And then we were running out of inventory and just trying to, you know, fill in wherever we could. So it definitely was challenging. You know, when you have to wait 12 weeks for your art to arrive, or your furniture or whatever it was, we just really had to plan ahead and get a little bit scrappy, but we made it work.
So, you know, you've said obviously that owning your own inventory instead of renting it from a supplier has its benefits of, you know, the expediency of being able to stage properties. How many properties do you think you stage in a year, or do you have a number in your?
Oh goodness. I don't know, actually. I would imagine we're somewhere in the 200 to 300 range.
So you're typically doing what, 2, 3, 4 a week?
In our busy season, I would say we're doing about 5 to 7 a week.
Mhm.
In this, I would say, yeah, average probably about 3, 4 a week.
Yeah. So your dad would know for sure how many. He's
Oh yeah,
after that side of things, right? But
I do the creative part. He does the numbers part. That's
you know, trying to get a handle for new stagers in terms of buying their inventory. And I always tell them, you know, for your first year, you play it safe, you get accessory packages, you work on owner occupied, you build yourself up to a point where, yes, it's a decision. I want to make, you know, get a warehouse and have inventory. From that strategy, how would you advise a stager to start building inventory to supply a vacant property? Do you buy a whole house? Would you buy 5 sofas? Like what would that strategy be like?
I mean, it's always less expensive to buy more of the same thing, you know, and that's something that we do too. When we're not just buying one of a certain style of sofa, we're buying, you know, 8 to 10 of them. But really making sure that those pieces are going to be really transitional, that you can use it in kind of a dated suburban home, or you can use it in a really modern new build, and that you're going to get a lot of wear out of that sofa. You know, things like art and cushions and things like that can really change up how those pieces look, that you can accessorize it, but making sure that you have those workhorses that you're going to be able to use over and over and over again. I think that that's really important, to not getting too caught up in trendy pieces, because if you're investing all of your things in trendy pieces, then, you know, it's harder to move later when you're done with it. Then maybe other people aren't going to want it either. And it really easily dates your stages when you're investing in trendy pieces. So I really like to incorporate more trendy things in the smaller pieces, like the accessories and things like that, that they're, you know, smaller investments and easy to change over.
Yeah. I find that with color, like you can see new stagers and even sometimes senior stagers blasting their house with a color theme. And it just, to me, is a distraction against what you're selling. But it's an indicator. Every time you use those pieces, people can recognize them,
Yeah.
the simplicity of the ones that you have on the console behind you. Those are very on trend, and yet, replicated from the Pompeii, you could see them, I do a tours of those very often, and I see the same vessels, and they are today back as being beautiful in, the way that you're utilizing them. So
Yeah.
the strategy behind how you purchase is important, I think, for people to understand the number, the sheer bulk of what you have to actually fully stage a house.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever found that real estate agents try to either ask you to bring less or try to, reduce your rates because your costs of doing business are changing? How are you finding that in the marketplace?
I mean, I think that is forever going to be an issue. I've found from the beginning, people are always going to ask for less money. They want a better price.
Yep.
And that hasn't changed in the time that I've been in this business, but I think
Hasn't
that
changed in 22 years of me being in
right. Yeah.
Honestly.
That's always going to be a thing, but I think it's really important to be able to sell your value. And for me, I think that it's so important now that, we have a reputation, and I'm not going to bring you a product of something that I'm not going to be proud of, that I don't want to put my name on. So, if you're going to reduce price, then I reduce price by rooms of we'll eliminate this room if you can't do that. We don't get into pieces and things like that, because if we're going to stage a room or property, it's going to be done properly. And I think that that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the company that you work, with your parents, but there's independent role that you have. What are the responsibilities that you have in the business?
What responsibilities I don't have? I don't take care of the numbers, but I am one of my main roles is sourcing the furniture and our new inventory. I do all of the purchasing and kind of the creative direction that we want to go. I do have my own set of clients and my mom has her set of clients. So I work with my realtors and do the consultations and the pack and the installation. And sorry, I'm going to just mute this. And, taking care of the staff. We've got a team of, I think, 8 now. We also do decorating and design. So yeah, I've got my hands in a lot.
So let's talk about then any advice that you have for new stagers. So let's start first with people who are thinking about getting in the industry and whether it's a good fit for them, and then move into, okay, you've made the decision you want to be a stager. What sort of advice would you give?
Yeah. I mean, I think if this is something that you're looking to get into, it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of hard work, and it is not a glamorous job by any means. As much as it seems very fun to, create these beautiful spaces, there is a lot of hard work and a lot of heavy lifting involved. And I think that there is, a lot more business involved in it than what is made out to be, like you can be great at baking bread, but you have to be able to run the bakery. So I know that's why I think courses like CSP that you teach us so much about, the nitty gritty of running this business, because most of the people that are going into this career are creatives, and it's not usually a strength. So I think to be able to have that in your back pocket and that knowledge is so important. I would say once you get in, I think it's so important to just be able to know your value and what you're getting into, and just, knowing your worth, because there are so many realtors, like we said, that, always want a discount, and they will I was reading something the other day about realtors who are saying, I got a lower quote from this person, and then they're kind of just making things up to, you know, pit you against these made up stagers to get a lower price. But, you know, there's a lot of costs involved in staging a property that, you know, people don't understand, and that it's so much more than just furniture rentals.
Yeah.
So just, you know, making sure that you're accommodating for your time and your expertise on top of the rentals and the moving and all of those things.
It's a big part of, you know, I think when people are thinking about staging, they think only about that creative element that you were talking about. You know, it's like, oh my God, every day to be playing around with furnishings and furniture and creating beautiful places that people will enjoy is a very small part of having the business, right? It's really, it is.
It's
and
the
I
most
find that,
fun part, but it is a small part of what we do.
and is that the part that you love the most?
For sure, you know, creating these beautiful spaces for people, you know, it's so much fun. And as a creative, to be able to, you know, play around with different things in different ways, and every day, you know, having a new challenge and being able to try out different things creatively, I think is really fun, because you're doing one space and then you're on to the next one, right? You can do something different. And that you're selling to this broad appeal of people, not just to one person's specific taste, so that you can really kind of take reign and just, really be creative, and to be able to play things around, and always having a new canvas almost every day, right?
Almost every day. That would
Yeah.
be amazing. And yeah, for me, you know, I loved working, you know, in Occupied, because to see the transformation through their eyes just always gave me a buzz at the end of the day, when people's like, oh God, I love it. You know,
yeah, right. Why didn't I live like this all the time?
Exactly. And that's a good segue into, you know, another aspect of business that you can do there for there. Any final words that you would like to share, either from an advice perspective or a motivation perspective, insight perspective?
I mean, I think that the other thing I want to say is that the staging community is just so incredible. I've never experienced anything like this in any other industry. And there are so many incredible stagers who have been doing this for a long time, who have so much knowledge to share, and sharing with everybody and answering questions. And, you know, there's a lot of great rapport and advice out there. There's amazing Facebook groups, you know, that are really providing support for stagers. Obviously getting training is really important, and that's something that, you know, people really drill down about. You can't just go in there and say, what should I do with this room? But you know, real business advice, real creative advice, and that, you know, people really come together and want to help each other and be supportive. And it's not so much, I would say, a competitive thing, but if, you know, there's more than enough business to go around for everybody. And so how can we help each other and, you know, raise the overall industry as a whole?
Yeah, that's the key thing. And I really feel that if you come from sort of an intention of plenty, you know, what is the phrase? Rising tides raises all boats, floats all boats, something like that. But I find like this industry is really exploding, and there's definitely an increasing demand for stagers as more and more real estate agents and sellers realize that this is marketing a property to its best or to its nth degree, sort of thing. And it's what's crucial to be able to get great photographs to help the buyer see the potential of living in that house. So whether it's vacant or owner occupied, there's definitely a need for the staging community.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you want to talk about the latest scandals in staging?
Oh, yes, please. Thank you for bringing that up. Let's talk about the scandal.
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead. Tell us about it.
So there seems to be some stagers or realtors, I think, people staging properties, we should say, who are purchasing items staging it with the tags on and returning them after they've sold the property. You know, I think there's a lot of issues with this. One, that it's just morally wrong, but two, it is also, you know, kind of bringing down the standards of the staging industry. You know, it makes us look bad. And also to these vendors who are offering these discounts to us that, you know, don't want to work with us because it's costing them money, right? So why would they want to do business with us, offer discounts? And it just doesn't make us look professional, right? I want to hope that it's not professional stagers who are doing this, but it's reflected on us.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's just all around bad, on top of the fact that, you know, as a professional, it doesn't make sense as a business to be able to be doing that, right? Because it's costing
buying
you
retail and then returning it. I mean,
yeah,
the effort that goes into it, number one, is crazy. But I think
the time.
you know, the time going back and forwards to stores. But I have heard, you know, where real estate agents have said to sellers themselves, you know, just go out and go to HomeSense and buy some cushions and throws or whatever, or even Costco, because they have such an open policy. It's just like, to me, it's theft. It's unconscionable that someone would think to do that. So
Yeah.
I am with you. I'm praying on a daily basis that it is not the professional stagers, and that these people are just not thinking, not just consciously aware. Because I know there was a piece on I think it was on CBC News, you know, which was shocking that it had gotten to the news level, because we dealt with it. I think in 2018, it sort of raised its head to a news market point. But now for it to be in this year, you know, 2022, and that's still happening, it's pretty shocking, you know, pretty shocking.
It is. And would you want to walk into a property that has price tags on cushions and lamps? And I've seen plastic wrapped lamp shades in a staged property. It's like, you know, the whole point of what we're doing is to raise the perceived value of the house, right? And it just very quickly diminishes it, right? It just makes it look cheap.
Yeah. So that is not a good business practice. And it's definitely, you know, one of the things that I would hope a professional definitely wouldn't do, even when you're starting your business out. And I think you have to have, and that, you know, probably goes back to one of the things that we've said, that running a business, get in the business and have the cash flow that's necessary. It doesn't have to be, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars to get your business started, but you need to have cash flow to be able to manage your business. I think staging is a serious responsibility. And it's not something to be, you know, sort of done as a hobby or taken lightly. It's a big responsibility to the work that we do. So it's been delightful chatting with you. Could go on for a lot longer, but probably we should pop off and let you get back to work. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Safe trip to Vegas, and good luck for your awards. That's going to be fabulous again. So thank you. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it, Kristyn.